So Iran, Israel, oil prices, let's talk about it. So obviously we're going to see a bump in oil prices when the markets open on Monday morning. And this is a little premature because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Israel is going to respond, but we don't know what it's going to look like. But I would expect to see a $3 to $5 increase in oil prices immediately when the markets open Monday morning. And the initial bump could be a little higher, but I think by the end of the day, it falls back down, to an overall increase for the day of $3 to $5. The bigger driving factor in oil prices moving forward is not going to be so much Israel's response, as it's going to be the United States response. And the question is, will they further strengthen enforcement of their sanctions on Iranian oil? You have to keep in mind, we've had sanctions on Iranian oil since President Obama was in office. But what we have done, what Obama did, what Trump did, and what all three presidents have done, is they soften the enforcement of those sanctions when oil prices are high to keep them from getting too much out of control. And with all of this occurring in an election year and, this administration, it is obvious a lot of their decisions are made and driven around the election. It's hard to say what they will do with the enforcement of Iranian sanctions when it comes to oil specifically. If they strengthen that enforcement mechanism of Iranian sanctions, of oil sanctions on Iran, oil will easily surpass $100 a barrel. But with the election looming, it would not surprise me to not see those sanctions enforced. It's really a coin flip. It's hard to say. My guess is that Israel responds, and then a little bit of time is taken for the dust to settle, call it a cooling off period, before the Biden administration decides what they're going to do. If Iran continues what they're doing, or if they respond further to Israel's response, then I do suspect at that point, then those sanctions the enforcement of those sanctions would go back into effect. Iran currently produces about 3.2 million barrels of oil a day. And with oil markets already somewhat tight due to OPEC cuts, we will see if Biden tries to negotiate something with the greater OPEC group to offset those sanctions. That is certainly a possibility, something he could potentially do to try to keep oil prices from spiking too high. Despite what else you may have seen, the odds of oil hitting $100 on Monday are very low. And these situations are hard to predict, and a lot will be determined between now and when the markets open, like I said, based on Israel's response and what happens over the rest of the weekend. I suspect that Israel responds and Iran stops, because it is obvious to everyone at this point that they cannot really touch Israel with their Iron Dome. On the other hand, they may continue just so they can spread propaganda to their people and tell them they are destroying Israel or some crazy shit. Definitely going to have an impact on oil prices, but we still have to wait and see how this continues. Yeah, thanks.